for your average gamer. But Speed Zealots, seriously, are one of the most terrifying units in the game because they are just so strong, and they're so cheap. I mean, just 100 minerals. And White Rot expanding along the direction of attack, always great to see. But nice little tactical abuse. We can see 1,000,001 ways to be made stronger. Look at the final battle. Uh-oh, here comes the storm. Hydras off the creep are struggling. Not so good. Yeah. And in the meantime, you have billion zealots still left alive. So there's good games. Once again, every single person in EG is just the nicest person in the universe. Unless, of course, you are in EG, and then there's just all the grudge matches and constant one-upmanship going on. So anyway, since we have been going for exactly 43 minutes and 59 seconds, I will just take a little bit of time to do questions, just 2 or 3 today, because I'm trying to keep these to about 45 minutes in general. So, yes. Haha. So, Mythical Mage says, Dear Day 9, in the first game you advised the Protoss to get the upgrade. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that Mythical Mage is referring to the +1 upgrade that I was saying at the Forge. But you advise the Zerg to skip it in favor of more units. How do you find a time to get upgrades and when to get units? Okay, so there's actually 2 different situations that we're dealing with. So let's take the first one. I said, yeah, I really think the Protoss should get the +1 upgrade. That's because in my experience with doing these 2-gate pushes, or excuse me, these 6-gate pushes after you have 2 bases, 6 warp gates, getting the +1 upgrade is huge because you just tear apart Zerglings. 2 hits from a Zealot kill a Zergling. It just bolsters everything that you're doing, and it won't really eat into any of your other plans. I mean, going 7 warp gate or 6 warp gate and the +1 upgrade, I definitely think that the second one is much, 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 much better. Just because of the way that the timing push ends up working. It's just so much stronger. Now, in the Zerg case, you heard me saying things like, yeah, you kind of want to skip them because you want to skip those upgrades. I wasn't necessarily saying that Zerg should skip the upgrades, but I loved what Machine did when he skipped the upgrades. So, for instance, if you watch Artosis play, on 2 bases, he almost always gets 2 evolution chambers and gets +1/+1. You know, +1 range, +1 carapace. If you watch Idra play, almost always on 2 bases, he's getting some evolution chambers before he takes his 3rd base. But what Machine was doing is he was cutting all the upgrades, cutting the attack, armor upgrade, and even the Overlord speed upgrade, and using that to get a very fast expansion. And that's a stylistic choice. That's me saying, do I want upgrades? Do I want to have everything really strong and not have that many units? Or do I want to expand and get a lot of units and worry about the upgrades later? So in the Zerg case, I definitely call it style. In the Protoss case with White Ra, I wouldn't call it style. I'd just call it, it's a little bit all-in-ish to not get the +1 upgrade. And plus, I think it's just will straight up be stronger in my experience. Yes. Okay, so, oh god, that is a great question, but that fine soul, it's from Kadaris, who always asks good questions. But I want to get someone else. So, let's see here. Yeah, I mean, like, here's a good question by Sick Note, who says, Day 9, do you think that White Rock could use his DTs to block the main's ramp to allow his Stalkers to do more damage? Yeah, absolutely, but what I want you to note is that's what I call a tactic. It's something that you can do in, like, under 20 seconds, so that you can just sort of whip up. Tactics are almost always what people think of first, but do not confuse them for strategy, which is like the overarching plan and how everything links together. What I would always say is, with Stalkers and DTs, there are a lot of tactics that you can do with them. But the most important thing is that you have some sort of solid follow-through and solid lead-in to the period where you actually get Stalkers with Blink and the Dark Templar. So for instance, beforehand, it was this 2-gate and expand and then getting the Stalkers. And afterwards, it was a ton of Templar and a ton of Speed Zealots, and at this little slice in the middle, it was Stalkers with Blink plus DTs, and that's what really made it strong. But, yeah, tactics are great, but never obsess too much about tactics. Euthalia says, in all the games I've seen White Ra, he's only using Chronovoost early on, and in the late game, he always has Nexuses with full energy. Why would you not use your Chrono Boost in mid to late game? Well, obviously the answer is that he should use his Chrono Boost in mid to late game, like absolutely 100% undeniably. And what I definitely think we'll start to see the trend with Protoss players is that they will start to discover sweet transitions that they can do with like 200 energy. So for instance, in Protoss vs. Terran in the original Brood War, oh my god, you can just suddenly get 3 or 4 Stargates and start going carriers, and if you hide them effectively, they turn out to be really good. Something that I've seen White Raw do is, let's say he has 3 or 4 bases against Terran. I've seen him suddenly get 3 to 4 Stargates, cut all gateway production, and just Chrono Boost out like 20 Void Rays really, really fast, and then just walk forward and kill Terran. So I definitely think that the Chrono Boost is going to create some cool things later in time. I just think players are still exploring the basic unit compositions to try to see what's most effective. And by that I mean, when's the beta coming up, right? Damn it, I really would have liked those. Okay, now here, I'm actually going to take this as one last question from Yak Yak, who says, would defensive Banelings have helped Zerg instead of Roaches? So the main focus of this entire daily has been on 2-gate, and in the situation where they go Roaches, look at the stuff that you can do. And it's important that you treat it as that one sort of thing. And I can say that against Baneling Zerg players, you kind of have to have a different little mix of strategies in the later stages of the early game and the early stages of the mid game. But what is really interesting about Banelings to deal with the 2-gate is that Banelings in small numbers aren't actually that great against Zealots. It sounds completely counterintuitive, but I was actually playing a lot of games with Zion. And yeah, that's right, I was playing with Zion. Sorry, I just had to double check with Zion LLL. And he was going Zergling Baneling to try to just stay alive, and I just kept making Zealots. Like, I literally didn't even tech, just more Zealots. And the fact that he was so low on Zerglings really ended up hurting him quite a bit. And because Banelings, they are pretty expensive to get a lot of Banelings to do a lot of damage, they're really behind economically. So I actually, anytime I see someone going Banelings, I kind of go, ooh, yeah, num num num. Maybe if they made 2 or 3 Banelings and all the rest Speedlings, that would be pretty good, I think. But, just devoting all your gas to Banelings turns out to be surprisingly ineffective. So with that in mind, I am going to wrap up this Day 9 Daily. Day 9 Daily number 149. And of course, I want to let all of you know that there is going to be an extraordinarily extreme and unbelievably exciting announcement coming out in the coming days. I am super excited. It's a little something I'm involved with. So, and I will say that when it comes up, all you have to do is check any major news site for Starcraft. Yeah, so I'm super excited to be a tease. So I'm going to head out for the day. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. And I generally have a plan for what I'm going to do after these dailies, but I don't have one today. Probably going to go read some comic books and just pet the new cat. I got a new roommate. My new roommate has a cat. I'm going to go pet the cat. Yeah, so take it easy, guys. Bye-bye.